The Voice, a new Bible translation from Thomas Nelson, is a unique project, bringing together scholars, writers, musicians, and other artists.
As I got along in ministry and realized that my job as a pastor was to tell the story of God, a lot of times the translation was one of the hardest places in trying to pull back and tell big chunks of the story. And realizing that my deepest spiritual experiences were around art and beauty, and that the scripture really is poetry and art and story and narrative, and that when we translate it well, all those things come through, all the beauty resonates. So I just wanted to pull together the best scholars and have them work with the best writers and poets that I could find, and say, how can we achieve the clarity of an accurate translation and at the same time call you deeply into the story.
The team of biblical scholars ensures the highest scriptural integrity to the translation.
In addition to us, writers and scholars, there are 7 other people who are reading every word of the Voice. And these are people who love the scriptures. These are people who know the scriptures well. And so they very much help us as non-scholars and as scholars to understand what's being communicated out there. And there's, 14 levels of review that's going on total from beginning to end before a book is published. So there's a lot of care taken. This is, after all, God's voice, and we want very much deep down to get it right.
From a theological perspective, the Voice Project, and we do know several of the editors are involved in this on a fairly familiar basis, and I'm excited about that because there's some people there that have very strong theological background from Dallas Seminary and other places, and they're heavily involved in overseeing this project and interested genuinely in crafting something that speaks to the mind and the mindset of this 20 to 30 something that is probably not our typical Bible reader today. It's probably not going to come into my store or your store and buy one of our existing study Bibles. They're looking for something new and fresh, and they present it in such a way that it is new and fresh, but it still maintains the biblical integrity of what the Bible is all about, and opens that understanding up to a fresh group that may not be reading the typical Bible that you and I would as Christian retailers today.
The Voice is a dynamic translation that brings the biblical narrative to life and will reignite readers' passion for the Bible.
And with the Voice translation, that's what we're doing. We're trying to make something that will let people that don't know God, don't know the scriptures, don't like the church, fall in love with God. And so we're creating something of great beauty with real heart to it that is different, that is laid out so someone who knows nothing has all they need to know Jesus.
I think anybody looking for a more living interaction with Scripture would do well to read through the Voice.
My passion for the Voice is that we would begin to read this not from an objective place removed from the story, but in fact the opposite. We would be immersed in the story, and then we would begin to see ourselves and our relationship with God and our own struggles in a way that I think is uniquely faithful to the Scriptures. I believe and have seen already that, that by calling people into the story of God, it doesn't matter whether you're a 12-year-old boy or a 30-year-old professional or an 80-year-old woman. You'll fall in love with Jesus again as you hear the story.
Step into the story of Scripture and rediscover the Bible.